Welcome back to the Social Seller Podcast with Conor Paulsen, where we interview the world's highest quality communicators, professionals, business owners, creatives, and everything in between. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're a high quality communicator, there's a good chance you're living a lot happier life, but you're also bringing those opportunities into your life almost like a magnet. My guarantee is that on this show, we only interview people that I, one, look up to, and two, that I know are going to continue to kill the game for years to come, and I want to make sure they're on your radar. But what I've learned is by asking the best questions, we get the best responses, and that's what the highest quality communicators, our social sellers, are all about. Let's hop inside to the Social Seller Podcast. Welcome back to the Social Seller Podcast with Conor Paulsen. Today we have a special guest, and this came kind of out of the blue. I have wanted to meet Mr. Zach Benson for a long time. Now, why is this special? We both grew up in Iowa, and there are not many Iowans, in my opinion, that I know that travel the world as much as you do, that have seen and experienced and are helping the world at just such a in a cool way. And the crazy thing is we've come in contact, I'd say 5 years ago, but we've never had this conversation. So we're going to get to know each other as two Iowans, and I think there's going to be some learning points. But how'd you get here, Zach? So you were born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, correct? And bring us up to speed. How'd you get to San Diego today?
Yeah. So, actually, I was born in Busan, South Korea. So,
oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and then I was adopted by my parents in Iowa, and then I grew up and lived in Iowa my whole life, high school, college. And then I studied abroad in Spain, lived in Spain and Mexico, and then 10 years ago I found my birth mom in Korea. And since then I've been traveling the world, 75 countries. I just got back from Mexico today. Was doing a mastermind there with a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and yeah, man, I came through here, me and you.
I love it. And we finally meet, and it's funny to meet in San Diego, out of all places. I think we were both in Asia at the same time period. This would have been like 5 years ago. So after business school,
yes,
we bounced in, and we had clients in northern Thailand, so Chiang Mai, Pai, and then spent most of the time in Bali. And I know, just following you from Instagram and knowing a lot of our circles are intertwined, but you influence at a high level, and I've been following it, from behind the scenes, and so it's cool that we're finally here. And what do you do? So I know Assistagram, but how do you spend your time, man?
Yeah, I mean, pre-COVID, I was in another country, another culture every single week. So I was like, hopping from Maldives to Vegas, back to Asia, back to the States, mainly for business conferences. So past 2 years it's been a whirlwind, just working with tourism boards, countries like Dubai, Maldives, like all over the world, just working with hotels and working with a lot of successful entrepreneurs and helping them grow their brands and become more famous just on social media.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I love to hear that, because when you're providing value, you get to live a pretty cool life. And what would you say is something that you've learned? What's something different about you that's enabled you to travel and kind of live this lifestyle? Or was there something early on that was like, I need to see the world? Or was it, I can go meet my birth mother, and then is that what triggered it? Or
Yo, I mean, we're from Iowa, man. We're Iowa boys, dude. It's crazy. I was just like, I gotta get out. Like, it's too small for me, And I didn't have my first Korean food until I went to Korea and I found my birth mom when I was like 21 years old, right? So, pretty much right after school, right after college. And then that changed my life. I got the travel bug, and I was like, okay, I want to go back to Korea to, build a relationship with my mom, learn about my roots, learn about the culture, learn the language. And that's when I really got the bug and started traveling everywhere.
First off, how would you define influence? And what does influence look like to you? How would you define it? Because I want to get into it on the business side, but how most people might see it, and maybe how we tend to think about it a little differently.
Yeah, so when I think of the word influence, I think of people that want to do and be you, right? Like, basically, they want to do like what you're doing, and I think I'm influencing a lot of people to become travel influencers, destination influencers, because to me, life is all about people, and the world is beautiful, and so I feel like you got to explore it. You got to learn about other cultures. You got to see how people live and arrange their lives, and that's culture, that's life to me. So I think that's what influence is just influencing, inspiring people to do stuff, and for me, it's to travel the world.
I love that. And a big part on the Social Seller Podcast is, sales is a part of our life, right? We're selling ourselves, whether it's the content we're uploading, everything is a reflection of us. You want that promotion. You want to get the job in the first place. You want to convince that girl or guy to go on a date with you, right? We're always salespeople. And at our company, we define the social seller as really being even higher level than a high ticket closer. I used to think that's like the highest level in sales, but it's really being a congruent human, being a quality person, in my opinion, that lives aligned with his values, right? So I have values and I try my absolute best to always live aligned with them. Now, then when you do that consistently, people start to feel that ripple effect. I can tell you have done communication training, and this all adds to influence. One little thing that I caught is when you just got through the border, you had some potential challenges, and you're like, hey, is it possible to get a couple coffees? And that's absolutely not a problem. But do you know how you phrased it? Is it possible? I use this all the time, and maybe you knew it. Maybe I feel like maybe you knew that or not. And I forget. I think it was a Cialdini book that talks about it. One of the best ways to ask questions: is it possible? And what I'm getting at is, I am fascinated by communication, and as we learn to become better communicators, and in the work we do, it's also in our brands and how we can reflect through influence. Once you start to learn communication at a high level, I'm realizing you hit this fork in the road, and they talk about it in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where you start to understand how to read people and communicate more effectively. But when you start to have this level of influence, the fork in the road is: are you going to use it for good or for bad? Right? You can positively influence, and that's our full focus here on the social seller. And then unfortunately, there's also a long list of bad names of influential people that did it for wrong reasons, and I can tell we're in it for the right reasons. Is there any kind of communication? Was there a book that was foundational for you? What has allowed you to communicate and be in the room around some of the coolest people? And when I say the coolest people, I mean this genuinely. I'm getting to know him right now. Like, he is in the room with the absolute biggest names that we all like to follow. And I know a lot of the followers that are going to watch this, how are you around them, and what enabled you to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, communication's all about, it's a lot about just listening, and I read this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and chapter 5, how to seek to understand and then be understood. And that whole chapter is just about listening and, being empathetic and asking the right questions and making that other person feel understood, like you really, really get them. And I think that's the most important part of communication that a lot of people mess up and don't do, because we're so eager to sell. We're so eager to talk and to get our point across that sometimes it's hard for us to just pause, push that pause button, stop, and really, really listen to what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that has helped me build a lot of relationships fast, because dude, I mean, yeah, I'm a chill dude, right? I'm just like this Asian Iowa kid, from Des Moines. And I think a lot of people, when they meet me, they let their guards down. I mean, they, feel comfortable around me. And I think it's just because of my tone, just my vibes, my energy, nonverbal cues. I'm always smiling. I'm always greeting everyone with a smile. I always give them a compliment when I see them, and I make them feel special. And I think that's communication too.
Amen. I love that you say that. You hit on so many big points there, and the overarching is being a quality human. And the next one, and this is something we're working with, the salespeople that are joining our team, and I'm fortunate to be able to be a part of training them and showing them that we have to pause, and there's a reason we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. But it's that much more important, whether it's sales, it's any form of communication, making sure we're listening, because there's a big difference between hearing, and that's what most of us do, and I catch myself, and listening, right? And listening and being there, being authentic.
Yeah.
And I love that you share that, because that was something I had to kind of get over. I think the Iowa before I make my definition, how do you think Iowa helped us, given where we're at today, whether it's communication or maybe where our business is? Did it help you at all?
Yeah, I mean, well, I confuse a lot of people, because they're like, oh, you're from Idaho or Ohio, Iowa.
All the time.
So, you
Potato
get that,
state.
right?
No, it's the corn.
So it's cool, because I think a lot of people, when they hear the word Iowa, they're just like, okay, there's nothing to do. You're a nice guy, Midwestern guy, friendly guy, and I think that's helped me a lot, actually, because, man, when people hear the word Iowa, they're just like, okay, nice people.
I agree. And I think it's subtly helped me. I'm not going to lie. but it's not like it's people. Luckily, the Midwest, for the most part, as I travel the world, usually if people happen to know what the Midwest is, they're like, oh, usually, hardworking people they're good people. I like that, but I think it's more of telling myself that when I'm out here. And when I first got out here, I started door knocking, all right, about a year ago, and I realized we have some kind of advantage because people feel a level of trust, and we don't have a motive, right? And if you bring a genuine smile and you're here to help people, I think people feel that. I love that you share that. Now, we talked about the highlights, right? And that's what social media is really good at showing off, right? We love to show an awesome life, and you live an incredible life. But I also know in life, the most growth and people kind of living that happy life usually went through some shit, right? And what do you think, or can you help take me to a place when you really were at a low, at a point, I'm saying out of the entirety of your life, was there a low point? What got you there? And when you were really in it, what were you thinking? What was going on in your head? And what did you see in your environment? And then how did that help you?
I mean, life's like a roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, your health, your wealth, everything, right? And I think when I hit rock bottom, it was in 2016, so like 5 years ago, and that's when I first started Assistagram, and I started to get some, I guess, high-paying clients at that time, right? I mean, back then it was just like $500 a month, $3,000 a month, and I was like, man, I'm balling, right? I'm doing it. And when I lost those clients, because for numerous reasons, I thought about just quitting, man. I thought I gotta go get a real job, and I didn't know what to do. And I called some of my friends, and I was like, can I come intern with you? Can I come work for you? And they're like, dude, no, Zach, you're living life. You're doing something that I've always wanted to do, and you have more freedom to make more impact and to make more change people's lives. And you gotta run with it, and you gotta go keep it going, and I don't know, but I have a lot of ups and downs.
Amen.
We all do.
That's in when you start to embrace it, right? Because I know there's going to be more in life, right? There's going to be ups and downs, but this is the lifestyle I love, right? Being in business, I think it was Ed Milet, someone said this like a couple months ago on a podcast, but they said the world's best self-development course, start a business or lead a team, right? Because the only way I'm starting to realize is our company's growing and the team's growing and there's more full-time staff. It seems like every week there's new faces on meetings. It's crazy to think, not that long ago, 6-7 years ago, we were in a 10-foot by 10-foot small little dorm room we called an office, right? And just having these conversations, knowing this was going to happen. At that time, I didn't know there were going to be ups and downs. I like to think so optimistically, right? And my dad at times would always tell me, Connor, you live in a fairy tale land sometimes. Now, I have to have that honest look at it too. And I embrace and I love all the adversity that's gone through my life, whether it's challenges in business, right? You know them, but that's also why it feels so good to have the highs, but it's almost like seasons, right? Have you ever heard adversity in life or business described as seasons? And I think coming from Iowa, it applies very well with 4 seasons, and we can't control the seasons, right? And this is personal and professional. I think spiritual, it can be in any form. It can be in relationships that we're going to have ups and downs. Right now, I'm fortunate to be on and up, and I'm celebrating, but I know and I'm aware that's not guaranteed, and I don't know when that's going to end, but I'm already embracing whatever that's going to be because I know I grow. Would you agree with that? And how have you channeled that low point when you had, your friends that are like, dude, you're living life, and you almost wanted to give up? What did it make you feel when they were like, you know what, I'm going to do it? And how were you different when you came out of that?
So I think when you have things all, crashing down, right? When you hit rock bottom and don't know where to go, it's when you lean on your friends, your family, those people that are closest to you, that believe in you and affirm you and encourage you. Because I feel like a lot of people, we throw in the towel too fast, too quickly, when we're so close to success. If we would have just kept going and pushing a little bit further, we would have made it and, hit that next peak. So I guess for me, it's just man, I feel blessed to have really amazing friends, family, clients, in my life that tell me what I need to hear and help me, and believe in me even when I don't believe in myself. because I think a lot of times it's easy for us to like point fingers and to deflect and to do all of these things when really we just have to look at the person in the mirror and man up and own it, take responsibility, and go for the next thing and keep it going.
I love that you say that. And people used to tell me that, right? Mentors in college and different people that I looked up to would tell me, like, man up, you know, and it actually, to me, it took on a whole nother meaning when I realized there's always this better version of Conor, and he's inside and he wants to come out, but I have to perform and I have to be, you know, and there's levels of discipline and routine that I'm finding in my life that allows me to get to that next level. It wants to get there, right? And once you start going through some of these transformations, it becomes fun. It becomes almost addicting. Like, I love this lifestyle, you know, that there are ups and downs.
Right. And I think it's easy, like, it's super easy to just get comfortable and to just cruise, put things on speed control, cruise control, and just coast, right? And I feel like if you don't have people like pushing you and challenging your beliefs and challenging like what you have to say and always just being like yes people, right, then you'll just stay where you're at, and that's fine, and that's cool if you have what you have and you know what you need to be happy. But I feel like each one of us has a little bit more to give, a little bit more to do, right? And you know, I just want to think bigger and be bigger.
I love that. Why do you think that is, though? Because comfortability scares the shit out of people like you and me, and regret, right? If I think 25 years from now, 50 years from now, and I'm on my deathbed, and if I regret things, the things I didn't do, the relationships I didn't make, or at least the attempts I didn't, the shots I didn't take, that scares me more than anything. And I have a feeling you probably lean towards that direction.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think, I just do. So I see something I want to do and I just do it and I make it happen. And I always say, like, what's the worst that could happen? And, if I do make a mistake and I do fall short, at least I aimed high. I set big and lofty goals. And maybe I didn't smash them and accomplish all of them, everything that I wanted, but I'm at least a little bit higher than where I was.
Yes. Right? I love it. And that mindset, and when you take action aligned with that belief, and it almost starts to become a value, you start to realize, like, you almost start to become a magnet. You know what I mean? When you're a good person, you're giving love, you go to sleep at night, and it feels good. You put your head down, and you gave it your all. Like, you're giving love in any little circumstance. You're at the grocery line checking out. It's easy to give a smile. That's one of the most basic ways. But in every opportunity, for the most part, just trying to give in some way, some form, even on an energetic level. And that was something my dad, a farmer in Iowa, right? And I grew up total farm kid too, right? The town of 3,700 I was telling you before. You grew up in the biggest city in the state. And one thing he always said at a young age was, Conor, people remember you by how you make them feel. And I didn't really get it, but as I got older, I watched how my dad interacted. And so not only is he a farmer, but he's a dealer for seed corn and soybeans, right? So in the spring, when farmers need to go put it out in the fields, all the farmers come to our house, and we have machinery or machine sheds where they come get it. And so I saw how networking and the social aspect that we're talking about today, and just influence, how he was doing it. And I saw it. I could never understand the distinction, but it's just, he lived it. And he's someone that we've never even had this conversation, but it was, for me, I can see he lives in abundance. It's a mindset, right? That we have more than enough. He's the first to pick up a bill. If friends are ever around, or anyone, like, he wants that's just his way of giving, and it shows that ripple effect that almost plays out. But yeah, growing up with a farmer, on a farming community, and I think just Iowa in general, we learn awesome values, and that's something that will always stick with us. I think it's opening doors because, to some degree, I think people do feel comfortable if you align with the Midwest values, and I have a good feeling both of us do very well. Yeah. And it teaches us hard work. And my dad also told me, don't, as he's farming and I'm helping him out, invest in your brain, because your back will break, right? And it was just this mindset. And being around the farming and agricultural realm growing up, I knew it, probably by high school, that I was not made out to be a farmer. I had this curiosity there was something out there, and I needed to go see the world. When do you think that kind of happened for you? Because I looked at some of your pictures from a while back, and I could be vastly wrong. Were you like a professional breakdancer at one point?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Tell me about some of the crazy stuff, because you have all of these, and we could have a normal conversation, and I love it. But give me some of the juice of like, you're a different breed, and you think differently, but you've always been different. You've tried things, and you've hit some levels. But yeah, breakdancing. Tell me, how did this start?
Yeah, dude. So I was just like one of those kids, like growing up that I was always against the wall, never danced. Was always watching other people dance. But then like one day my buddy was just like, dude, like you're Asian, like you gotta learn how to breakdance and be cool like all these other Asian kids. And so he gifted me this breakdance DVD called Mike Garcia How to Breakdance, and I watched it. I fell in love with it, and it was something that I was finally really, really good at. And I just kept practicing and working, and eventually I started traveling, competing, winning competitions, battling all over the world. Was eventually on So You Think You Can Dance, the TV show. And that kind of kick-started my career to help me teach dance all over the world, you know.
Wow.
And towards the end of it, I went from a broke, dancer, artist, making like $50 a summer teaching dance to $1,000 an hour towards my end of my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you at today? Like, just give me a range on whatever, whether is Assistagram the primary focus for you, and just any kind of range. So in the marketing realm, usually we're talking a monthly realm.
Yeah, man. And before we talk about that, also like, what's cool about our stories is because when you came out here, one of your first jobs was knocking on doors, right?
Yep.
Basically, like going and trying to make sales, right? Just random strangers.
Grinding.
It's a grind. Like cold calling, cold emailing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never actually knocked on doors. I mean,
It's another level, because cold calling, you're calling, but now you're showing up on their property.
Yeah.
And now you're matching energy. But anyway, we can talk about that in a sec.
So I was able to make a 6-figure dance business just by cold emailing mom and pop studios in Iowa, Midwest, and then all around the world. And how I made 6 figures, how I made $1,000 an hour. So I figured, okay, I got to teach 3 age groups, ages 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 12 and up, 10 student minimum, $40 per student, 2-hour class. So it's total 6 hours, 1 studio in this city, and then I kind of city hopped. And I tried to teach at least 3 to 4 of those workshops a week.
Wow.
And so really, I mean, it was like a less than 20-hour work week. And I mean, I was
having fun.
I was having fun, and I was pulling in, a lot of money at a really, really young age.
What age were you?
This was like 24.
That's awesome.
20, yeah.
And how young are you today?
Yeah. I mean, dude, that was like 10 years ago.
What's your current age? What's your current
so I'm
age
35
today?
now.
35?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
You look like you could pull off 24.
Yeah, Asian, man. Because these Asian
you don't
genes.
age.
But yeah, now fast forward today. I got Assistagram. We got luxury real estate. We have, Amazon businesses. We're doing a lot of things and a lot of partnerships, and taking a lot of equities and splits in companies because we're helping them grow and scale.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. And thanks for so I watch occasionally I'll watch some Grant, and one thing about Grant, GC, Uncle G, the one thing I like about him is that sometimes he'll be pointed, and the Iowa in us, that's not how we were raised to say something pointed that might be a little uncomfortable, but I know it's something that I want to know, and as long as we have rapport, then I've learned if I can ask a range. But that's also gives a viewer that might not know who Zach is yet, I highly recommend go follow this guy and follow his lifestyle, just his life. You got to do some cool things, but it's being able to show them and give them a taste of what stages we're all going through, right? And what I love is that you're saying you're on the investment, right? You're playing the long game, the big picture. What does that big picture look like, right? Because you could increase rates, right?
Yeah.
But you're putting equity in. You see something in them, and you can help them succeed. Why are you playing this big picture, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, Like when I first started like my stuff, I wish I had like a mentor that just poured into me and just gave me advice and kind of gave me a roadmap and say, do this, do that, don't do that. And it shaved time off my learning curve so that I can reach, a higher level faster. And so that's why I do what we do. And we invest we invest our time, resources, money, and energy into these startups and these other businesses because we want to help them grow. And together, we can grow faster and grow bigger and reach more people and create more impact. So that's why we do what we do, because I think a lot of people, they all have a story, a battle, an idea that they want to launch, but they just don't know how to get results. They just don't know how to get eyeballs and grow it. And that's what we help them with. We help them get results. We're the results guys.
I love it. We're in the same business. Business of results, right? And honestly, there are a lot of parallels, right? At Uptown Creation, it's a B2B sales development company, and we're both in digital marketing, right? And helping people make money online, whether it's building their brands. Usually there's an ROI that they want to see, right? And I'm sure that's true for both of us. It's an exciting time. I wish everyone could just understand, put the work in to create something online. Even, I remember the time I did not think I was an entrepreneur. I was around entrepreneurial friends and they were doing it. And I was like, how do they do it? Like, I can't come up with business ideas. I used to think for a time, I am just the one person in the world that like, my brain was made this way that I don't know how to come up with business ideas. They do. Why were they born like that? And then it was like a Tony Robbins or I don't even know, Rob Sharma or Brennan Burchard had a YouTube video. And I watched it freshman year of college, and it said, yeah, that's completely fine. That's how, most humans are. The exercise was every day write down, it was either 5 or 10 new business ideas. And you couldn't have, it has to be something brand new that you haven't written down days prior. And so I remember the first couple times doing it and sitting down. The first time it took me like 2.5 hours to create a list of 10. Iowa City was kind of like my home base. And I'm sure at some point you probably made it to Iowa City.
Mm-hmm.
You were instructing at some point in Iowa City.
Oh, yeah.
Long story short, it opened my eyes in so many ways. And what is the big picture for you? Like, what are the 25-year goals, right? What's the legacy you're going to be leaving?
Yeah. So 25-year goals, and I want to take my 25-year goals and make it into like a 5-year plan. So every 5 years, I have like a 5-year plan of things that I want to do, places I want to go, and people that I want to meet. And so I kind of live my life between 3 to 5 year plans. And man, just taking you back, it's cool to like look back and see like what you've accomplished. And I've done a wide range of experiences. And so right after college, I went to Central College in Pella.
That's
small
really
Dutch
close.
town, like tulip time. They got all this Dutch heritage. It's a fun little peaceful, quiet town. And right after college, I lived on $2 a day for food for a whole year by choice.
In Iowa?
In Atlanta, Georgia. And according to like New York Times, it was like the most diverse square mile in America. It's in this place called Clarkston, Georgia. So there's over 50 languages spoken. I basically helped refugees find jobs and homes and helped them adjust to and transition to America. So I took them to their doctor's appointments, I set up their apartments, I did everything. And it was really cool, and it was life-changing because, I met North Koreans, Cubans, refugees from Africa that were kicked out of their countries because of war and because of their religious beliefs. And to hear their stories and how some of them were taught like royalty to strip down to nothing. Refugees, seeing their friends and family killed.
Wow.
It just it really like woke me up, and I was like, life is a lot more than just like what I'm doing and what I thought I'd want to do in my 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, it changed. So I'm more about just trying to make life better for others, giving back, and yeah.
I love it. And giving back is such a critical part.
Yeah. It was crazy, though. I read this book called Irresistible Revolution by this guy named Shane Claiborne, who worked alongside Mother Teresa in Calcutta.
Wow.
For about a year. And they served the sick and the dying. And Yeah, it was just like stuff like that,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah, and have you noticed at all that the more you give back, so, both of our companies in our personal values, we value giving back, right? Now, have you seen anything in life where, whether you're giving back in time or financially or both, and how it started to affect your life and maybe even change your life, maybe even better in some ways, but was it different, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was living on $2 a day for food, I felt I had this entitlement mentality. So I was like, man, like I deserve this, or like I go to these like food fairs or festivals, and I try to like sneak my way in or like work my way in and negotiate free food and get free food coupons. And I don't know, I quickly learned fast and realized that it's just not the right way to do things. And don't get me wrong, sometimes the best things in life are for free, but you shouldn't beg for them. You shouldn't like ask for them. Just give, and
Yeah.
give with no strings attached. And I adopted and learned that mindset and mentality right after graduating from school. So, super kind of young age. And that's just how I operate now in life, like give first, give until somebody's like, Zach, like you've helped me so much over the years and you've asked for nothing. Like, is there something I can do for you? Do you have an ask? Is there a favor I can do for you?
I love it. And that's when you're giving at a level so selflessly and you're doing it consistently. And when you do it enough, it starts to just happen without you even thinking. But you start to get into this feeling, and I don't know, I almost feel like I'm living I'm lighter. And I mean it more in a spiritual sense of like, I don't think my physical weight's any different. Giving back, and I have a theory, and I just started this about a year ago, but I love to volunteer. And I learned this in college, and I volunteered all through school at a place called Oaknall, which was a really nice retirement home. And a big part of it was, let's be around people that have lived 3, 4, 5 times longer than me on this earth. Now, the fun part is most of them had business experience. They had business success, and it was so cool. I was in charge of men's night. Or what do we call it? Yeah, it was happy hour. But it was only for the men. So I'd help bring them all in, and it was their one time a week that I could serve them a beer.
Yeah.
They could only have alcohol because all their medications and things. And then there were a few people that, I would have a list, and I'd give them an NA beer, and even though you would tell them, they just loved it. But I got to be the one that brought some energy, brought people together. Now, the selfish thing is, I learned a ton. I just had fun.
Yeah.
What changed, though, is moving out here and getting involved with the homelessness scene and just realizing, wanting to understand the story. Because coming from Iowa, there was some in Iowa City, but it's a whole nother scale out here. And we're in America's finest city, right? This is not a bad view. And we're going to enjoy this weekend, but it was the one thing I heard people say about San Diego is, oh, I love it. The only thing they could complain about or potentially bring up was homelessness. And I was like, I didn't get it. And it's easy to point fingers, right? It's easy to be in a car, and I see people our age, millennials and beyond, that it's easy to sit and point and create, that's unfortunate. I hope they're well. Someone else will help them. I wanted to go understand it. And so there's a group called Streets of Hope, and there's a San Diego chapter where it's fighting not only homelessness, but homeless children. And there's thousands of homeless children throughout the state of California. I mean, there's hundreds here, thousands of homeless individuals. And when you get down, a big part of it is spending time with them and just talking with them. This has been going on over a decade. And so when we're there every Monday night, you start to remember these faces, and all of a sudden it starts to humanize them. And that is such a reality and wake-up call for me, because they give and come from so much love all the time. And that's the thing that people, and I used to be the person that from the car, you could catch me pointing. But then when you go and humanize that, it changes everything. And where I was going with this and bring it full circle is that I've realized in the last year, the more I give through my time, each month I have to do, in my goals, it's 2 physical, I have to show up in person, and then I have to do it at least twice financially, right? It's easy to send money, in my belief, but coming from Iowa, we're about rolling up our sleeves and getting involved. I think it helps us in business, but it started that magnet thing again. And really what it did is it just made me know that I'm coming from a genuine place. Yeah. And I've gotten friends involved where I don't think normally they might be, but it's so cool because These are missions that I know you're a part of too.
Yeah, man. And you made a very important point, and it's about it's about making people feel alive and making people feel human. Like, no ego. Like, you're not above them, you're not below them. Like, everybody is equal. Everybody has value and worth to offer as a human being, and everyone is beautiful as a person. And I think, like, a lot of times when we walk past homeless people on the streets and we ignore them and we don't look at them in the eye, they feel
I don't exist.
less.
Yeah.
They feel like semi-human. And so I think it's all about, like, making people feel like that love, that value, and that everybody has worth. It doesn't matter who you are. You can always learn something from somebody. It doesn't matter if you're a homeless person. It doesn't matter if you have a disability and you're in a wheelchair or handicapped, or even a billionaire. There's always something that you can learn from somebody. You just have to ask the right questions and ask and listen.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because I will not lie. I want to live a luxury life. That's something that I value. And I want to live a high quality life. I want to be around those people. The difference is I know by getting to that level, you have another degree of influence, and then we start getting into freedom. And that's a big foundational truth to me. It's not the patriotic freedom, but the freedom to be in control of my finances, to be able to do whatever I want, to give whatever I want at whatever time, to be able to travel whenever I want, live wherever I want, be with whoever I want. And getting to that level in accumulating wealth, really accumulating wealth, right? Not chasing the rich BS. Like, that's cool. I will play the long game. I am always in it for the long game, because I can give now at a level and positively influence on a global scale, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the conversation, how do we use influence? I think positively influencing on a global scale. I don't know what it looks like yet, and I'll be honest. But I think getting involved in our communities, and you go out of your way, and I think I actually just had someone recommend that book. Is it a purple cover that you talked about? The one that was aside Mother Teresa? Is it a purple cover? I'll show you after the interview.
So, well, the one I was talking about is called Irresistible Revolution.
Irresistible Revolution.
By Shane Claiborne. But I think there's, Blue Like Jazz by Donald Miller. There's a lot of good books.
Donald Miller's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. And I'm so glad you're here, man.
Yeah, dude.
And where is a home base to you? So I know you're originally born.
I live in hotels.
Hotels, like your day-to-day life. How does this actually work? Just as like a friend to a friend. How does that, like, how is it sustainable? How do you get discipline and make sure that you're always
come a
getting your
long
work
ways
done?
from $2 a day to now, staying at hotels that are $50,000 a night.
So he's very humble about it. Like, there's a
I don't-
link below.
I don't
just
pay-
look at his content. You'll quickly realize the caliber of who he's around and the lifestyle that you've created because you've given and helped so many people.
Yeah. But I don't pay to stay. So in the past 4 years of doing this, I've gotten now over 800 5-star complimentary nights at some of the world's best hotels and resorts all around the world. All thanks to Instagram and social media and just building up a big, massive network. But it's again, all about giving, right? It's like, instead of doing one thing for these hotels, I'm like, hey, how can I can help you with 12 things or 15 things, and it's all for free at first. And that's kind of like my foot in the door, where it's like we're creating a win-win and building that relationship. And if they like our work, which normally they do, they're like, hey, what else can you do? Let's talk, let's do some business. And then that's how I monetize it. But I'm pretty much living in hotels, man, and I just want to keep doing that and exploring the world.
I love it. I am in total agreement. And you've created a lifestyle, a business, and just ways to give back at such a cool level. And I'm so glad that you're here today. What is the best place for people to connect with you, and how can they learn, keep up with your lifestyle, and anyone that might have questions or want to reach out?
Yeah, well, you guys can follow me on Instagram at ZachVacay is my personal account, Luxury Hotels. We have a lot of accounts, but follow those two to keep up on my adventures. And you can check out our site. Assistagram.com is my company. So if you need help with Instagram, you want to travel we do and travel for free, yeah, hit us up. We'd love to work with you guys. And most of all, I would love to hear your stories and connect with you and see how we can collaborate.
I couldn't agree more. And go back, re-listen to this, because there are so many gold mine takeaways. And I will go back, re-listen to this a couple times, I know. And Zach, you are so humble about it. I'd love to know that we grew up in the same state, because that's not very common. And as these companies grow, it's less and less rare, or it's more and more rare, I'm realizing, to have, those Iowa folks kind of come into it, let alone Midwest. And so proud you're here, man. Now, every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are dropping a brand new episode. We have the summer's heating up, the sun's warming up, and we have some really cool stories and guests just like Zach coming. And please leave a comment below. Let us know a little bit about your story, right? And anything that might have related, or sharing this with someone that this might relate with. Are you from the Midwest, right? Did you ever feel that way? Maybe, why am I from here? Do I deserve more? Or, I think regardless of where we're at, we all deserve to live that life that excites us, right? It scares us a little bit, but damn, we want that excitement. So thanks again. We will see you on the inside.